Every time that I come back from Kuala Lumpur, I ask myself this question. Why isn't Malaysia or why isn't Kuala Lumpur one of the most visited cities here in Southeast Asia? It's like a mix of Singapore and Bangkok, especially Singapore. It's like you get Singapore and you stretch it out and then you make it much cheap, 50 or even 70% cheaper. So why aren't there more people coming here to Kuala Lumpur? I don't mean the influencer type of famous, but KL, as Kuala Lumpur is famous, is popular and all. It has everything, like it's affordable, it has great transportation system, it has excellent cuisine, good accommodations, and so many things to do that I don't know why people don't come more often to Malaysia or to Kuala Lumpur. Some of my first observations about Kuala Lumpur, maybe it's going to sound a bit comedic to you, maybe it's like an unpopular opinion, but I think with all my heart that Kuala Lumpur is much better than Singapore. I've been to Singapore and I've been to Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur is like the bigger cousin of Singapore. It has similar architecture. It has even the same ethnic groups as you have like mostly Indians and the local. I think of course Singapore has more Chinese people as well. But you have the Chinese and you have the Malayans and some other expats. Singapore, I think there are more expats than Kuala Lumpur. That's why, because it's more popular. But Kuala Lumpur has like better infrastructure, I guess. It has more roads and has more transportation system, many more things to do, and the prices are much lower. The cost of living is much lower. Of course, Kuala Lumpur is much bigger. Singapore is just an island, so they don't have much space to grow. But I think Singapore has, to me, like the same vibe as a Dubai. It's like everything is very artificial. And in Kuala Lumpur, you have everything. If you want to go for the very touristic place, you can go there, especially like Bukit Bintang. If you want to go for the historical part, you can go to Chinatown and you go to the Masjid Jamek, I think. I'm not sure about this. You have the River of Life, when it's like this historical part. So we have everything in Kuala Lumpur. We have the old, the new. We have things for like if travelers on a budget, rich travelers, wealthy expats, and poor. Like so, we have everything for everyone. It could be really chaotic, like Hanoi or Manila, but it's very organized. It's very clean, and it's very pleasant to walk. Like I remember every time I go, I actually like to walk in Kuala Lumpur because they have like the covers from the sun. I think Thailand, for example, Bangkok should invest is more in this, and some other cities here in Southeast Asia, some capitals. And everything is so clean and the sidewalks are so wide. It gives you motivation to go wide, to go out. The green areas also, green areas everywhere. So it's really nice. Second thing that is very interesting about Kuala Lumpur, of course, I think we mentioned before about the Chinese in Singapore, and as I gave this briefing, is about how diverse Kuala Lumpur is. You have like the Chinese, the Malayans, and the Indians, everyone living together effortlessly, without fight, without drama, without BS. And all these cultures mixed in, they create this very multicultural environment and this very cosmopolitan even. Basically, for example, I don't know, if you get a little bit of India, a little bit of Thailand, and a little bit of China, and you put in a pot and mix it. This melting pot, you can see it in the buildings, you can see it in the arts, you can see it everywhere. We have like Indian temple here with all the colors and the statues and the beautiful architecture. Just beside it, you have like red lanterns from a Chinese temple with all the Chinese scripts and smell of incense. And a little bit further, you have like a mosque, just a couple blocks away. So people are like doing the salat, and then they have the call for prayer. And not only that, but also you have like these big skyscrapers, like it gives this idea of modernity, but also together with traditions, multiculturalism. So it's really fascinating to me. One of the reasons that I think Malaysia shouldn't, or Kuala Lumpur shouldn't be that underrated, is because English is very well accepted. Most people speak English. English is everywhere. And it's very easy to get by everywhere. I don't even have to do anything type of translate, especially if you talk to Chinese in Malaysia or in Kuala Lumpur. Especially if you talk to the Indians, of course. It's like they have English as second language, and it's very easy to get by. The local Malayans, the Muslims, the Islamic people, They don't speak that much English, but everything else in the country and people who work with tourism, they speak good English. So it's not like a country that you're gonna arrive, for example, like Vietnam, and you have to either download the offline translations in Google Translate, or you have to buy a SIM card to have access all the time to the internet. So you have to, Google Translate your way through the city or through the country. And very little people speak English, and even though they are very shy to speak the language with you, so you're not gonna have communication problems in Malaysia. So it's a very easy country to travel to and to have a very good experience. It's not gonna you're not gonna feel like you are illiterate even. For example, sometimes like countries like Thailand or Cambodia or Laos, they have a completely different alphabet. So I feel like I am not educated at all. I feel like illiterate, because I cannot read the signs. I feel like I'm missing a lot of things. So that's not the case with Malaysia, because they always have in Bahasa and they always have it in English. So it's very comfortable, very easy to get by the country. Something else that is very interesting about Kuala Lumpur that is it's very underrated is that's why the same reason that it's underrated. So it's not like hyped like Thailand, it's not like hyped like Vietnam at the moment, or even Cambodia for that matter. And it's not like Bali either. So like Indonesia, especially Bali. When I mean Bali, I mean Indonesia. Yes, or Indonesia, I mean Bali, I don't know. So it's a place that it doesn't need tourists, to be honest, because Malaysia is a very rich country. I mean, it's a wealthy country. And in Malaysia, for example, they are so, I mean, I don't know if this is a good business strategy, but the country or government policy, but most things in Malaysia are imported. Because they have the money to buy imported goods, and also the government, they fund, the final price doesn't come to the consumer. So even the food in Malaysia, they don't produce food, they don't produce rice. They import it from Thailand and from Vietnam. But so I'm talking about the tourism again. You don't have this feeling that everything is made for you, like a Disneyland, or like Bali, you have these spiritual retreats, and you have this, like fake spiritualities, like the spiritual getaway, or like Thailand is like this red light district going on, and you have this feeling that Kuala Lumpur is like a premium city, it's like a very expensive or fancy city, but it's not. Bangkok now they want to rebrand themselves to wealthy expats. They are removing a lot of the street food and like things that made Thailand or Bangkok their identity. They want to attract these rich people, and they are destroying their not destroying, of course, it's not like this big movement, but you can notice it slowly. You can see less and less street vendors, and they are being replaced by expensive shops and expensive like restaurants. And Bali, for example, like I'm not even going to mention something about Bali, because this is the definition of over tourism. It's like so crazy. But Malaysia, no, Malaysia is like all this modernity and the traditional lifestyle of the local people, because the city is made for the locals, not for us, for tourists. So it's much more interesting. Since we're speaking about tourists, something that is really interesting about Malaysia is that the type of tourists that comes to Malaysia is very different. And I don't know why. I think maybe it's because of the same reasons as mine. I was very reluctant to come to Malaysia because, Malaysia, Islamic place, Muslim place, I'm not like Islamophobic, never. I mean, even though I have a particular view on religion, everybody's free to do whatever they want and to believe in whatever they want. I got kind of, not PTSD, but I got a very bad experience living in a Muslim country before, which is Turkey. And it was like kind of a very, this machismo vibe, like the men, they all look like red pill idiots, or they just, like this very aggressive, it's kind of a weird thing. You have to be living in the country to feel that. So I have these past experiences. Oh, okay, so it's like it's Muslim place, so people will look down on me when I drink alcohol. I cannot, do this. I cannot do that. So I was very concerned about going to Malaysia. I was very reluctant. And then, okay, let's give it a try. I went there in September 2023 for the first time. And after 1 month, I said, oh my God, man, this country is amazing. It became like my favorite country, because not only the tourists that go there, they are very different, they are more educated, and they are more open-minded to many things. But also, you don't have the low-level quality tourists that they just are in Thailand, or even now they are going en masse to Vietnam. You don't have these guys talking about lady boys all the time or drinking their ass off, because you cannot do this in Malaysia. You know, of course they have like an underground red light district scene, and they have nightclubs as well. But you cannot be like this in Malaysia because you're gonna have a lot of problems, you know. The ordinary tourists, they think they see like me, you know, like, oh, Malaysia, Islamic kingdom, you know, Malaysia is like Islamic place, Muslim place. Not interesting, so I'm not even bothered. But that's why. So it's a different type of vibe there. And it's very nice because it's very family oriented, like the tourist attractions in Malaysia, and it's very peaceful. There are places in Malaysia, for example, the Perhentian Islands, and they are basically like the south of Thailand without this massive, immense groups of tourists. The place is basically desert, and it's a little bit more expensive than Thailand. So, and you also have Tioman Islands, a bit more in the south. So, you know, you have all these places in Malaysia, but you don't have these massive hordes of tourists, and you don't have like annoying tourists as well. I noticed recently that Cambodia and Vietnam, they want to attract these sexpats, so these sex tourists to their country. I think it's a big mistake, but hey, it's their country, and I know there is a lot of money involved. They do whatever they think is best for them. Kuala Lumpur is very underrated because it's one of the best hubs in Southeast Asia. You can easily go because it's a very important Muslim country, like a Muslim culture country. They have very good relations with other Muslim countries such as the Emirates or Oman, Kuwait, you know, Turkey as well, and Egypt. So they have many direct flights to the Middle East. They have direct flights to India because they have a lot of Tamil Nadu people, like the ethnic group that makes the most part of the Indian community in Malaysia. And they have many other flights even to other Southeast Asian countries. They have very cheap flights to Bali. You can find flights from $30 to Bali. You can have flights to the Philippines. You can have flights to North Korea. No, I don't think they have North Korea, but they have South Korea. Definitely they have. They have flights to Japan, to Thailand. So it's a very interesting place if you want to create a base, and then you can visit all the countries around, you know. So, and the airport is very modern. I think it's a great place, you know, just because of the strategic position of Malaysia. So that's it, guys. Trying to give you some reasons maybe to give a chance to Kuala Lumpur, because I personally had a great time there. I stayed for 3 months in Kuala Lumpur. I rented an apartment and it was amazing. I had like this infinite swimming pool. I had like markets, like shops inside the condominium. I had maybe 5 minutes walking, no, maybe not even 5. I think it was 3 minutes, 2 minutes walking to the metro, to the train, to the metro station, to the MRT system. So it was amazing. I mean, I really recommend at least you give it a try, either as a tourist or maybe consider, if you have the requirements, to live more than, you know, 1 year or 2 years. But I think as a tourist, you should definitely give it a try. So thanks again for watching this video and see you in the next one. Happy trails!